All right, let's talk about Backrooms.
I found something in the store.
Okay. What did you find?
The place.
Backrooms is a psychological horror and it's directed by Kane Parsons. This is actually his directorial debut, which is pretty damn impressive, to be honest. Written by Will Sudick, and it is based on the creepypasta, The Backrooms. I've had a little bit of experience of this through the video game version of this, the film / shooter well, Ejiofor. I'm sorry, I can never pronounce that name, but he plays Clark, a furniture store owner, and his therapist, Mary, discover a dimension of seamlessly endless liminal spaces accessed through the basement of the store. This was originally way back in 2022. It was a web series on YouTube, picked up by A24, who I absolutely love as a studio, by the way. All right, so before we get going with that, I want to say, this cinema was sold out here in my town, which never happens. Lots of young people coming out to see this movie, people younger than me. In fact, I felt very old in that cinema today. It's a really strange experience. Pretty rough cinema experience with people talking and all that sort of stuff. It's starting to happen more and more. Anyway, this film was really, really interesting to me. It made me feel really uncomfortable and creeped out at times, which is kind of a rare thing to do these days for film. I've become desensitized to horror movies, really. Like, growing up from a young age watching horror, it's just completely like nothing makes me jump, really. It's very hard to scare me, and this nearly got there. It didn't go as far as I expected it to, and in fact, the film didn't do certain things I wanted it to. There was a lot more I wanted to see. There was a lot more depth that I didn't get to see with the Backrooms as a location and a setting. It almost felt like we spent a lot of time in a familiar part of the Backrooms at the beginning of the entrance there, and it just never felt like it went just as far as what I wanted it to. I wanted them to really get lost in it and spend some time in there. Now, the performances are fantastic, if a little bit undercooked, because we don't get a lot of character development. We get a lot for the store owner, our main character, or so said main character, because halfway through the film, it kind of shifts to the therapist. And there's definitely a undertone of trauma involved in this movie. Not just his, but the therapist's past trauma as well. It's quite a trip in that respect. And from what I gather, these doors keep opening up to the back rooms and they're all interconnected in these places because it's people's connected trauma. Because they're showing, parts of streets and houses and familiar places, but not quite the same, like twisted memories. So to me, it's all about interconnected trauma. And I could relate to it because I do therapy. Instantly took me back to The Shining. Not as good as that movie. It doesn't get to the heights of The Shining, don't get me wrong. But this movie definitely does things in that space. If you see what I did there. Yeah, but it plays with liminal space, and just the way that they are able to do that, the sets, which I assume are physical, and a lot of practical stuff, looks really, really good here. There's that kind of uncanny valley thing to it with the rooms and the furniture and all the props and things like that. I just love the idea that they peek through a gap and see a door that they couldn't get to, and you'll never know what was past that door, or they'll get to a door that's locked. Just really weird setup, and I absolutely loved it because it's a lot of theatre of the mind. I've always said theatre of the mind and psychological horror is some of my favourites, and A24 especially is really great at that. Midsummer is one of my favourites. Hereditary is one of my favourites. It's just a very unsettling film. I think the third act does quite well. But again, I feel like there was missing a few things that were important to the development of characters. It felt like, to make sure the pacing of the movie didn't suffer, that we left a lot on the cutting room floor. And I kind of feel like I want to see a longer version of the film. Psychological horrors work best when they're just that little bit longer. And I think it could have been good to have a longer cut here. The music was creepy. It's very subtle, very minimal, and the sound design when the characters are in the back rooms is terrifying. the use of lighting in this is a real pivotal thing. Like, they think they are being followed, and when they're looking back, it's not like a figure that you're seeing, it's flickering lights and sounds, and that to me just makes the film scarier. There was some found footage stuff, but it's not all found footage. It switches to this camera every now and then, but it kind of loses that later on. It's almost like they didn't quite want to go full found footage, which is a kind of shame, because I feel like that gave the film its a little bit more of its style. And in with the Backrooms as well, it always especially in the video games, it looks like a VHS tape when you're playing it, and I kind of wanted that. I wanted a little bit more of a stylistic sort of cinematography. Don't get me wrong, the cinematography was great, but I would have liked it to be a bit more unique. The dialogue was good. Again, your dialogue has to be good for the performances to be so great. They definitely did that well here. It's just a very trippy movie. Like, there's certain things that happen throughout the movie that kind of throw you off, and they take you somewhere else entirely, into someone else's mind, and you feel lost with the characters, and I'm sure that is probably intentional. Like, you flip to another scene and you're like, what the fuck? You don't know if you're in our character's head. At one point, there is a scene where they're sat around a table and there's things in the room with them. I can't spoil too much, but it just is a head fuck at that point. And like I said, Theatre of the Mind is great. I would definitely buy this one on Blu-ray. I had a great time with this one. It's not the best film in the world. It's not the best horror. It's not A24's best movie, but this is a promising movie from a new director. And we are starting to see the floodgates open for all of these new horror directors. And it's exciting for me, like, just to have a new wave of horror. And it's really piquing people's interest. You know, Obsession is just doing crazy right now. We had Hokum, we have Backrooms. I haven't seen Passenger yet because they haven't shown it in my theatre. So I'm going to be checking that out as soon as I can. We've still got a few other good horror movies. We've got a few tentpole ones like Insidious, which I'm on the fence for because the last ones weren't great. I'm just generally excited for all this original horror content. A24 seems to be pumping out a lot of great original content, and I honestly, it feels like they are the new Hammer of the day, right? Because Hammer didn't just do horror films, they did other films too, like, and this is exactly what A24 are doing, but they are very, very good at horror, and they're good at doing horror on a cheap budget. So they do remind me of Hammer back in the day. But guys, what did you think of this movie? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Have you seen it? Are you going to go and see it? Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts. And tomorrow I'm checking out Power Ballad, so I'll be putting my review up for that. Look forward to bringing that to you as well. Guys, take care of yourselves. I'll see you real soon. Take care.